we learned as well is a lot of the time when people don't have as much of an established brand yet, hate to say it, but it's just, you need to get better. Your content needs to be better quality. And so if having the expectation that it's going to happen quickly in the sense of less than a year, like you just have to remove that misconception.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the pod. And in this episode, I have a dear friend of mine that you probably haven't heard of because he's been behind the scenes of some of the biggest brands, helping them actually go bigger with their brands with social media content. Not only is he a good friend of mine, but he's also an awesome guy. And he's going to share some knowledge with you guys on how to actually go bigger with content, how he even got into the space, but more importantly, how to actually scale out your media with his company, Media Scaling. Logan, my man. What's up? Welcome back to the pod.
Yeah, good to be here. Thanks for that fiery intro. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Well, thanks for coming out. I know you had to do a couple high-level meetings out here in Miami. We were able to squeeze in the podcast because you're staying here. So it kind of worked out.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. Well, I think it's really cool how you've entered the media space. And I don't think a lot of people know your origin story about how you got into media, first off. So take it back to how did you even get into organic content? Because it's one of those things, you either get into it and you like it and you continue doing it, or you just hate it. And you guys have been doing a great job. So how did you get into organic content in the first place?
Yeah, it all started with an ad telling me how I can make 10K per month and just get rich overnight. This I know I'm blessed to grow up in the age of social media to where when I was still in high school, I came across people like Alex Becker, Gary Vee, so on and so forth, and just talking about how to make money online through digital marketing. So invested early on in multiple courses, masterminds, communities, and just stacked skills over time. And that led me down a path of going from SEO as the big thing at that time to then drop shipping to then Ty Lopez dropped SMMA, starting the first agency and failing at that multiple times before finally having some success and just persevering to the whole process. And then through all the communities that I joined, mutual connections, just started to work with larger personal brands on socials. A big part of my story was really working with Manny Koshman, who is, him, but for anyone that doesn't, he's he's known for his cars, got like incredible world-class collection of Bugattis, McLarens, Bugattis, etc. And has built his wealth through commercial real estate investing. So I worked with him directly for a couple of years and moved from Texas to Newport in Irvine, California, and helped him build his consulting company, teaching others how to invest in commercial real estate. Manny has a large following, collectively like 6-7 million followers and subscribers across the board. Mm-hmm. And so through that process, was helping to direct a lot of the content, a lot of the ideation phase, like coming up with video scripts and ideas, a lot of research on the back end. And then also I it felt like it was my business. To his credit, he gave me a lot of autonomy. And so I got to make a lot of like the key decisions and hiring and the overall strategy of the company. And that was really my first big leap towards also just building a company in general and building a sales division and client success and support and managing the P&L and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. And that really also, connected with a lot of vendors on the media buying side and on the content editing side and so on and so forth. So I learned what it felt like to be a personal brand in that arena, have the large following and understand like what are the pain points, what are you really looking for, like what is most meaningful to you. So that gave me a lot of incredible experience. And then on the other side, my partner with Media Scaling, Spencer Murphy, worked as the head of marketing for Jason Capital for over 4 years and helped really spearhead growing his social following from 30,000 followers to over 6 million followers. And then he worked internally with Iman Ghazi and built his full account network of secondary accounts. And in the first 4 months, they generated 449 million views. His YouTube in the first year went from 340K subs to 3.5 million subs. Like the growth was insane. And Spencer was wanting to go and take the leap and do his own thing. And I was also in a transitory phase to where I felt that is ready for me as well. So we partnered together, started Media Scaling, and now we work with top personal brands, podcasts, creators, and guarantee up to 150 million views in the first 90 days through building a network of what we call these satellite accounts and just flooding socials with their organic content.
Wow, man. And that's a crazy journey. But in the beginning of that journey, it kind of sounds very similar to most of the successful online entrepreneurs that we see today, where it was Facebook groups, forums, courses, networking, doing anything you can to, share the value. But then the relationships took you to the next level. And I mean, just that little opportunity of, being able to see what Manny Koshman needed, or that, hey, what the transition between Spencer and you, like how did that actually occur? Those are all mini opportunities. And I don't say mini because they're not big, opportunities, but just many moments in time to capitalize on. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs that went through the agency space or went through those courses, they haven't materialized the success because they haven't taken those leaps and those opportunities where it could even be too big for them to, actually take on that opportunity. And media scaling is becoming probably the best and the biggest short form, massive content kind of distribution company now. So it's really cool to see what you guys have been doing. And you guys, you dropped a bunch of names and everything, man, about, Manny Koshman to Godzi to all these other people. Take it back to, what is the biggest misconception for people that see these brands and, wanting to do that kind of content push or wanting to actually emulate that brand, but don't quite have it? And like, how do they actually bridge the gap to get to the point where they can be anywhere and everywhere with these satellite accounts?
So in terms of our offer, we look for a specific client criteria of 300,000 or more subscribers on YouTube, 100 plus long form videos, and then just well capitalized with an offer to where they're earning good income for an affordability side, but also from a side that they're going to make a significantly amount of more money working with us. So it's a very profitable investment. So those are the things that we really look for building a satellite network of accounts to really move the needle and be successful. Earlier on in your journey, you can absolutely do it if you have a large enough content library. But what we learned as well is a lot of the time when people don't have as much of an established brand yet, then a lot of time, hate to say it, but it's just, you need to get better. Your content needs to be better quality and you can't polish a turd. And so if you don't have good content and then you post a ton more of that bad content, you're just going to be flinging poop everywhere, essentially.
Yeah.
And nothing's going to perform. It actually hurts your brand when you do that. So a lot of it just comes down to putting in the reps. Like, hate to say it, but when you're building a following, when you're building a brand on socials, having the expectation that it's going to happen quickly in the sense of less than a year, like you just have to remove that misconception. Like it's something that I talk about is the mindset of getting to this top level and having a brand and following size in the millions, like the Manny Koshmans and Iman Gadzis, is having the mindset that you're going to do this the next 10 years. And no matter what, you're just going to consistently do it and not stop. Not because it takes that long, but because the people who are at the top do have that mindset. Yeah. And so if they have that mindset and you don't, you're not going to win. So that's the big key is first, like look at this as a long-term play and then put in the reps, be consistent with it. Don't stop, go off of the data and just study what works. Like all the social platforms are really a free university. You can go out there to all the top brands and accounts and look at exactly what they're doing. What does their filming set look like? If it's on YouTube, like what are the videos they talk about? What is the title, the thumbnail design? What is the structure of the videos? How often are they posting? What days and times are they posting on? Like emulate successful actions, right? And don't just start by guessing, but instead study the data of proven what's already to work. You can also create, if you're early on in your journey, I highly recommend you create a list of 50 accounts that have similar audiences to what you're looking to build, and then study their content and specifically look for the content that has performed higher than average. And so it's those outlier posts. Let's say that their average view per video generates 50,000 views, and then look for those posts that got 5 million views, right? And study that. And how can you take that framework, the title of the video, the hook, the framework, and make it your own? Like emulate that, make it your own, innovate on it. And then again, you're going off of proven data versus just pulling ideas out of air. It's like, maybe I should talk about this and maybe I should do this, right? Also though, the size of the following doesn't always necessarily matter. What really matters is you getting in front of more of your ideal client or customer consistently. And the more niche you are, the smaller that number is going to be, right? Like with us working with top personal brands, podcast creators, there's a list of probably like 5 to 10,000 people out there who are ICP 1, ICP 2, ICP meaning ideal client profile, like who are really looking to get in front of and work with. So for me, I don't need an audience to the millions. Like I'm not going to create content for the masses because that's not part of my goal. The reason I create content is to drive more results for the business.
Yeah.
So I'm only going to create content for that very small segment of those 5 to 10,000 people. So for me to expect to get millions and millions of views, it just doesn't align, right? Versus other people that have much more of a mass market approach and message, they're going to get way more views and followers as a result.
Well, I think that's a really good point that you just made too, because we come mostly from the advertising space where it's like I want a direct response ad. I want something that's going to call out my ideal client to click below and then hit the landing page and do whatever action there. But you're taking the same approach while building brand, but doing it just strategically with organic and just amplifying it, which is a nice blend. Instead of it being just dependent on ads, it's the commitment to the long term. And whenever you're trying to look at running paid ads, personally, I believe that you have to go with paid ads with the brand. You don't just go paid ads with no organic content. Like you have to have the balance of both. And to your point, like if it's not addressing those things that your ICP wants to hear about or wants to learn more about you or whatever, the campaign isn't a success. You're throwing, as you call it, turds everywhere, and it's going to mess up the ad campaign as well. So it goes both ways.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's something to where, I have connected with, and there's plenty of people out there who are running ads without creating organic content and do so successfully. But I just challenge you, start creating organic content as well and watch your ad performance significantly improves, right? And then vice versa as well. If you're creating organic content, big following, you're not running ads. It depends on if you have an offer or not. But if you do have an offer, then run ads and watch them convert really well as also. And I really see, if you're going to do both, I see organic content as more so the mechanism for lead nurture and just bringing new people into your world, nurturing them, building that trust. And then ads is the conversion vehicle. That's the conversion mechanism to where it is very effective to basically build the warm audience with the organic and then retarget them with the conversion driven content on the ads.
Yeah. So let's talk about how that works with the satellite accounts, as you call them. Those are, for those that don't know, what are the satellite accounts and how does that work? Because you just said that the retargeting on your organic page, people kind of know that. You can get the conversions there. How does that work and interplay with the satellite distribution kind of method?
Yeah, so satellite accounts are additional accounts branded to each of our clients. So I'll use Tony Robbins for an example, since everyone knows him. It'd be like Tony Robbins Reels, Tony Robbins Clips, Best of Tony Robbins, so on and so forth. With our clients, we'll create 20 to 100 additional of these accounts and then plug in essentially a media division of top editors, social media managers, team leader, clips coordinator, copywriter, data analyst, thumbnail designer, so on and so forth. It's a full team backing of like 13 to 18 people per client. Okay. Take their long form content, repurpose it into high volume of top quality short form clips, and then flood socials with all that content through the satellite accounts. And so I look at them as more so a distribution media, right? They just allow us to post significantly more content. Our posting volume ranges between 1,800 to 10,800 posts per month per client. So when we're doing that level of volume mixed with top quality, and you have an established brand, a lot of posts go viral, massive amount of new reach is created. And then we take all that and we funnel it back to their main socials and their offers, and they see hockey stick growth and everyone's happy. So in terms of ads as well, something that can be really effective with this strategy is pixeling all the engagement and the reach, the followers, everything that's generated from all these satellite accounts. You can add them into your business manager and then retarget all that engagement with ads. And it goes back to the view guarantee that we said. We do up to 150 million views in 90 days guaranteed. The up to meaning that with every client, we'll run an audit on their socials. We have a features of package offerings and deliverables. And so depending on that and their brand and their type of content, we'll come up with exact guarantees for them. It usually ranges between 30 to 150 million. Sometimes, recently last week, we gave even a 400 million view guarantee to a really big brand that everyone knows. So depending on the size, like that can also, it can get even bigger. But when you're doing that level of reach, and the longer you run these, the more it compounds as well. Like maybe we generate 100 million views in the first 90 days, but this continues to grow to where over the course of, let's say, the first 5-6 months, the accounts can do 100 million, 200, even 300 plus million views per month across the board. And so you're creating these massive, now warm audiences and warm impressions that you can retarget with ads with the conversion driven content. And it can work really well.
Very interesting. And so, for those that haven't been running ads on their own profiles, definitely start there. But what he just talked about is some baller type of retargeting strategy across basically everything that you would pay for with regular ads, but doing it organically and building brand. So hope if you need to rewatch that, definitely go back and take a listen. But, for those that are looking into, the secondary accounts and the network side, like how much does it really take to run those types of networks? Like I've hired multiple people. I've seen a little bit of success, but not to the degree that you guys are doing it at. So like what really goes into it, and what does someone like an entrepreneur like myself or other big brands that you're working with, like really have to have in place before even adding that on to their distribution line, if you will?
Yeah, I think really like a sizable content library is important. Okay. Like all the videos that we create are unique. So we don't do any reposting. It's never worked effectively, especially so in recency. Like right now we're recording this at the end of May 2024. About 3 weeks ago, Instagram rolled out a new like big algorithm update that is completely just flagging reposts and actually replacing it with the original content. TikTok had a similar update as well. So reposts, they already hadn't been working very effectively, but now it's like the algorithms are attacking it and just completely wiping away reposts.
So when you say reposts, if I posted a video on my page and it's, this podcast, for example, if I took that same exact clip, it's edited one way. I take that same exact video, no metadata changes, no, changes to the colors, the animations, whatever. I took that same video. That's considered a repost, correct?
Right. Okay. It's like copy paste.
Okay. And if it's changed, the hook is different, or if the colors are different just through the edit and it's a different video file, that's not a repost. If it's the same soundbite, right? Yeah.
Yeah. We call that a remix. Okay. And so, I mean, that's just an internal term that we use, but we do remix, especially winning posts. A lot of the time, like the underlying clip behind a winning post is an asset, the way we look at it, because more often than not, if it goes viral once, it continues to go viral again and again. Like we have clients to where we'll find these winning clips and it'll get 10 million views. And then we remix it with a different editing on top. Like you mentioned, different overlay, captions, color, music, whatever, maybe even pacing, like add a little bit or cut a little bit down even further. To where we still make it unique again, but then we'll post that same clip on another account, or even if on the same accounts, we will give it, let's say, a 2 to 3 month window, but then you can still repost that same clip with a different remix edit on top on even the same account. And more often than not, it just like continues to go viral. We have clients to where it's like a specific underlying clip has generated tens, if not 50 million plus views for them of just like remixing that winner. So that's a good strategy that we found. But going back to like, what is when should you decide whether or not you want to do this? Yeah. Having a large enough content library is important because you want all the clips to be unique. And also you want there to be a lot of variance. So if on each of the accounts, even if you have unique editing on top, but it's still the same underlying clips, the same raw footage, it's not going to perform as well. We've tested this. So you want a lot of variance in terms of the content that's going up across the accounts. And that requires a larger content library. So that's why we look for people with at least 100 plus long form videos. Additionally, you want a track record of success. So even if you don't have a big following, but you're seeing consistent momentum and growth and like you're on the right path, that's a good indicator that you have quality content that you're tapping into, people want to see more of, versus if you're like stagnant in growth and you're just like, you're at a plateau, you're not really seeing any momentum. Before you try and horizontally scale and just post more of that content that's not growing, first tap into growth, right? And so you want to have that proof of concept of growth. And as soon as that's there and you have a large enough library, then this is a really great strategy to deploy to really amplify everything.
So that's a really good point that you just made. First, build out that library, but tap into market message, like figure out what that is for you and then open it up. So for people like Patrick Bet David, or the guys that are pumping out massive amounts of content through their studios and all that kind of stuff, would that still be your ICP? Because they're always doing different outfits, different colors, different guests, all that kind of stuff. Like overall, as a podcast type of setup, your ideal ICP? Or is it the travel and the lifestyle with podcasts, with short form, with talking head, and with all these different B-roll clips? Like that's the type of person you want to talk to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, hey, Patrick, Bet David, anyone on the team, you're watching this, we'd love to talk.
Let's do it. Let's set it up, PPD.
He's an ICP one for sure. And then on the other side as well, really, so if we're talking ICP one, that's going to be people with 1 million plus subs on YouTube, larger content library, just proven offers, like larger brand. That's where we can like just completely knock it out of the park. And that's where you're likely going to get the 150 million view guarantee. And I mean, we have a few instances to where we've gone above that recently as well with those larger brands. So in terms of the other side though, of like a vlogger or lifestyle, like travel, we can get creative enough to make this work with almost any content type. So it really just comes down to, do you have the brand awareness and do you check those boxes that I mentioned, to where we know that the library is there, the content quality is there, the brand awareness is there, and then you have the monetization system set up to where you're going to capitalize on this. I will say we're working with a lot more creators as well, and I see a big gap in the market. Most creators are only monetizing through AdSense and brand deals, and then they'll have like maybe a Patreon community set up, and they don't really push it and structure things properly to where right now it's like Patreon, for example. Are you familiar with Patreon and the concept behind it?
Yeah, I used to follow Cody Ko in high school and followed them for a while. So that's the only reason why I know Patreon. It's like a OnlyFans for creators, but it's like comedy clips or stuff, right?
Yeah. It's like exclusive content. So some people will make like exclusive videos just for their Patreon, or they'll do like early access to videos. But the pitch that everyone does is, hey, join my Patreon to support the show, to support the channel. And it's like the weakest pitch ever. It's like support me, pay me, and that's it. It's like, and that's what everyone says. And so we have worked with clients to where we've taken them from like a low 10,000, like low 5 figures per month to multiple 6 figures per month in earnings from their Patreon alone. Not even brand deals, not even the AdSense, which also massively increased as part of this process by just helping them repackage the offer. And so instead of saying support the show and get exclusive content, what you can do is you can make it a lot more about community. And you say, hey, join a community of other like-minded people, fans of the show, build friendships, relationships, also get exclusive content. I do Q&A calls. You get closer access to me. Plus, we do weekly giveaways in there. And you can join for free because you can do a free 7-day trial. And it's like, you have that. Now it's a significantly stronger offer than, hey, support the show, you know? And so we help people just refine their pitch, and then also do more call to action placements and do so in specific areas to really drive more promotion and lead generation. And it produces significant results without even needing the social growth. So then when you combine it with the social growth on top of that, like their income can go up through the roof. And so that's a big opportunity that we're helping more creators with right now. So even if you don't necessarily have the income range that we look for of 100,000 plus per month in earnings, when people still have the audience base and they have the content, we can help them implement the right offer in place to where they can absolutely crush it and still afford our service, plus make a lot more as well.
That's very interesting because it taps on to what they're great at. And then coming from the marketing background, conversions, funnels, making irresistible offers, that's going to be unique, man. I think you have a big runway with that because there are so many people that not only aspire to be creators, there's events specifically for creators and they love the content. So it's a no-brainer to work with you if you're a creator because you already love making content. Why don't you just make more money with the content at the end of the day?
Yeah, a lot of them, and to their point, it's a lot of them are creators, like they're creatives. They're passionate about their content, and that's what they are, full-time creator versus personal brands or business owners who create content on the side to drive more results for their business, right? Yeah. And so creators, a lot of the time, they're not business oriented because they don't want to be, right? That's just not what they're passionate about. It's not what they're into. They want other people to really handle that aspect for them, or they're just not doing it at all. And it's huge missed opportunity and money being left on the table So we really want to be that partner for people and help them place those business components that are going to make them life-changing money, significantly more money with the audience they already have, and do so in a way to where it doesn't hurt their brand, it doesn't hurt their engagement, it actually strengthens by building more community. So it's a big mission of mine that we're really driving into, and the results can be massive. It's like changing their lives, because also a lot of the creators, that when they rely on AdSense and brand deals, their income fluctuates so much. Like it depending on the CPMs or their view performance dropping, or an algorithm snapping its fingers, and like their performance just changes from one month to the next. We meet people, it's like, oh yeah, 1 month I do 10,000, and then on my best month I'll do 100,000. It's like everywhere in between, just a full roller coaster. Yeah. So when you implement these offers as well, you can now have recurring revenue that's sustainable, it's predictable, it gives you a lot more security, and then you don't have to rely on brand deals telling you what you can and can't do in your content. And you don't have to rely on AdSense that goes up and down every single month. So it creates a lot of freedom in that aspect as well.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because how many times do channels get demonetized because you had the wrong guest on, or, whatever policies or political actions are going on right now? Like, that's a big risk for a lot of creators, for sure, because they can't express that freedom, etc. And as well, like, if you are going to go do that whole route, you have to go on channels that aren't as established, or maybe not pay out as well. So I think that kind of creates them more security to also be more entertaining and give them more of what their audience wants at the end of the day, which is really cool. Now, what are your thoughts on live streaming? I know it's not necessarily your guys' forte, but it's been chopped up. I see, feeds or videos where it's like the live streams in there with comments and stuff, but it's like in the short form as a normal post. Have you guys experimented at all with, short form from that?
So live streaming can be really great. Are you referring to like Twitch streamers, or just like going live in general on social platforms?
I think both, but definitely the Twitch or the Kick or whatever else is popping off now.
Yep. Got it. Yeah. It can be amazing. And a lot of the top streamers on Kick and Twitch and the different platforms, they go for a long time as well. They're streaming for like 4, 5, 6 hours. So it creates this big library as well, which there's a lot of gems in that content that can then be repurposed up. And same thing, there's a lot of live streamers out there that do little to no repurposing of short form content for their socials to drive more exposure to the live streams. So it's a big missed opportunity. And so they should be doing a lot more of that. And if you are a larger streamer, you've built an audience there and you're doing it consistently and you're doing longer streams, you can absolutely run the satellite account network strategy. And again, flood socials with your content, take over fast, and drive all that back to your streams, which is going to make you more money. So I think it's really smart. And then on top of in addition to doing live streams on like Twitch or Kick or other platforms, just even going live on the social platform as well is great. It really helps. It puts you at the front of each platform of all of your followers, right? Like, it's very easy, if we've all experienced, if we follow someone and if we don't like consistently engage with them, we stop seeing their content. Just the way the algorithm's designed. Yeah. It's easy for accounts to get pushed back. But when you go live, it pushes you to the front of all of your followers again. And so that happens across platforms as well. All the social platforms, they really reward it. And so it can really boost the health score of your accounts, which helps even your other organic content. And then additionally, I've met people who make a good income from AdSense on their live streams. Facebook is a hidden platform. Like, I've met people who make like good money on Facebook, just do live streams.
I think it's because I'm banned from Facebook, dude. My profile's been down for like 4 years, that I just gave up on like Facebook content and streaming or fan pages. That's just my personal thing though, because they just keep hitting me. They keep knocking me. But that's cool that other creators are able to make, sponsored shows or live streams and stuff through Facebook. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, man, if you cross that, sometimes it's hard to get back.
I mean, hopefully he comes down to Miami or something and enjoys Formula One or something, and I can just bump into him and be like, hey, dude, like,
we're
stuff back. So how do you guys manage that, by the way? Like, you guys have hundreds of accounts. I'm sure at some point one of them gets shut down. Does that like crawl? Does that like create a ripple effect on accounts? You guys handle that pretty well? Should people, even if they're banned down, start with you guys? Does that cause any issues?
Yeah, it's funny of how common of a question this is. and how little of a problem it is for us. Like it honestly almost never happens. The only time that we do have to deal with it is sometimes when we first create the accounts, they'll get automatically flagged and shut down, but then you can appeal it. And we have an appeal template that we use, and 99% of the time they get put right back up after we appeal the account. And then we just set up the accounts to where they're unique. Like there is a problem on the platforms with impersonation accounts to where it's like same profile picture, same bio, same feed. They buy followers and they're trying to scam people. That's not what we're doing. We're creating uniquely additional secondary accounts that have different profile picture, different bio. The main account is usually like tagged in the bio as well. It's like unique content separated. So we don't really deal with those issues at all. And it's crazy that I've even met people who, at least the excuse that they made in their head that's held them back from even trying this at a smaller level themselves. It's like, oh yeah, I don't want the accounts to get shut down or whatever. It's like, you didn't even try. It's like, it's not a problem, you know? Yeah. So as long as, I mean, there are processes that we follow internally for account creation, for warming up accounts and for really getting it going live. But we've dialed in the SOPs to where it's really not a problem for us.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I know like with business pages and stuff, those are really, really easy to set up with Facebook and with Instagram, but that's a really hidden gem because I didn't know the whole profile picture thing. And I've gotten probably dozens of impersonation accounts. There was at one point where they were spamming my stuff so much that my account got taken down like 11 times within like 3 or 4 months, just like back to back every other week. And I know you had gone through it too, but it made me just like not even want Instagram on my phone. I'm like, this just sucks. Like you have it just taken away all the time, but I'm glad that they're, you know, putting some wraps on that and taking care of it. But that's cool that you guys don't get banned as much because that was a big issue for a while overall. So when it comes to secondary networks though, you set up the network, you have all the profile pictures, you have all the videos, and you have all the content. What would be the value add from a business perspective outside of just running retargeting to, you know, the content creators or business owners that, you know, you're trying to target? Meaning, for example, if I set up, you know, a bunch of ad accounts and a bunch of ad networks, and I'm running ads there, and that's my only source of traffic, and then I can't lean on anything else because I do get banned, like, how do you see the moat with your guys' service really fit into high rollers that are running pretty big strategies?
Yeah. Well, one, it's not platform dependent. And I never like seeing any business that's dependent on any one stool. It's like a one-legged stool. If you're sitting at a bar, it's like if you have one leg on your stool, someone kicks it out, you're falling on your ass, you know? And so if you're primarily built behind one specific platform, anything can change at any time. Someone can take down your account, or the algorithm switches, or you say something the platform doesn't like, so on and so forth. So the fact that we run it across Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Snapchat, the top 5 video platforms, it creates risk mitigation in that sense. It's also omnipresence, right? And in terms of the value in the moat creation behind this, one, it really is the ultimate competitive edge because it's extremely hard to do. And there's not any, like, the other route and how this was popularized in a market awareness sense was Andrew Tate, right? He had a full army of affiliates, create a bunch of these accounts, post a lot of his content. And the reason it worked well for him and so well for him is because, one, he's one of the most polarizing beings on the planet. And so like what he says just innately goes viral. And secondly, he got banned from the platforms. So all the affiliate accounts were the only place that people could buy and sign up for. I think it was the Real World at the time, versus what we've seen is the trust and authority factor is largely much greater on the primary accounts rather than the satellite accounts. Mm-hmm. And so we do optimize our satellite accounts to still push promoting offers, lead generation, driving to an event or a webinar or a lead magnet funnel or whatever the case. And it's still effective, but it's not as effective versus the main account. And many times there's a pretty big discrepancy there. So what we see best results doing is using all the secondary satellite accounts to then be the top of the funnel and drive all that back to the primary socials. And the primary socials is where you really focus on conversion and you really focus on turning them into leads and then sales. But again, we still can play a role doing that in the satellite accounts with Like, we can do stories, a lot of call to actions embedded within the content through the editing. We can even take winning clips. This works on socials in general. If you take a winning clip and then you just embed a call to action on the back of it, and then you can post it again. If you don't even want to leave it up for long term, you can leave it up for 48, 72 hours as well. And that call to action at the end drives people to a specific place. And you can also use pinned comments for CTAs, so on and so forth. But in addition to going back to the competitive edge, this is something that is hard to do. There are very few people out there who have done it successfully. It's been a big blessing for us because there's not another agency that we've come across that offers the level of deliverables at the scale that we do with the size of the guarantee that we use to back it up as well. So if you want to do this big, we are the best option in the marketplace. There's not really any other options out there. And if you try to do this with an affiliate approach, the failure rate is extremely high. Like, we've connected with a lot of people who there's just a graveyard of Discord communities and dead secondary accounts out there of people who have tried this through an affiliate strategy. It just didn't work. It's usually like kids and people overseas. They'll create these accounts. They don't make any money and they stop after the first 1-2 weeks. And it's just a full churn and burn model. When you work with us, you get it in-house. It's predictable. The quality control is there. It's highly scalable, sustainable. And this is all we do. We need to sleep and breathe it. And so few people have done it successfully. It's that competitive edge in the sense that your competitors probably don't have this, right? And if you take advantage now, you still get that first mover's advantage. There's still early stages of this. Versus a lot of other strategies like ads, like anyone can go out there. There's a million media buying agencies. You can go hire a media buyer. You can get ads going up in 2 days, so the barrier to entry is much lower as well. So those are all reasons of why this can create a really strong moat for you.
And they own all the secondaries, right? The clients own it. So it's an actual asset. Like, digital assets are real. Like you said earlier, video clips that go viral that are working in the algorithm are real assets. You got to look at them that way. Your content network, account network, those can be assets. So it's bigger that you own those things rather than just thinking that it's a secondary account and then that a kid's just going to post it. Like, no, it's a real thing. Like, it's a real business opportunity overall. So that's cool, man. So from a beginner's perspective to content, let's say that they already have, all of the accolades. They already have all of the business acumen for business coaches, or they have all of the vaulted content for lifestyle and stuff, but they just haven't made their own personal brand a priority. Can they still be successful with that methodology if they have the financial backing, if they have some content to work with, but they just didn't focus on their personal brand?
So like in this case, they don't really have an established brand, like they're not actively creating content?
Yeah, like their name isn't known, but they've created lifestyle content. They've created a bunch of other items as well that have gone viral in other places, but they don't have like the business kind of acumen set up yet. It's just all content around like entertainment or education and stuff like that. Just not a personal brand.
Okay, so they don't have a business.
Let me try and re-ask the question. Content that's usually like faceless, right? Like faceless channels that are doing extremely well with education. So there's YouTube channels out there that are in the algo trading space, or there's YouTube channels out there in content like how to make your own videos, and they're faceless, right? It's just education, and they have a bunch of great vaulted content. It's they're creators, but it's not the personal kind of brand. Does that stuff still work for you guys, or no?
Faceless channels are challenging because it's really at the end of the day like voiceover content, right? And it depends on the storyline and the thread. There is room for creativity. Let's say if we were to do that, we would just use a lot of generative AI and go and find media content that we can overlay for B-roll to be able to take clips of essentially the audio at that point versus the video on screen to still make it unique. But I would say it's more challenging. It's definitely not as optimal versus having a person behind the camera, like a main person subject.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So mostly actual brand characters, brand faces, attractive characters, not the faceless stuff, not just newbies, like real people that want to scale their content even bigger.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So let's kind of shift gears a little bit here, because I know you have something really big coming up for you, man.
Oh, yes.
In about 2-3 weeks. And it's in one of the most beautiful places in the world, man. Congratulations on your freaking wedding, bro.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, you're going to be there with me.
I know. We're going to be in France, in Paris, south of France. We're going to be everywhere, man. So how has that experience been overall?
With the wedding specifically?
With the wedding and just gearing up for the wedding. How do you feel?
Yeah, wedding is something to where I feel like it's hard to truly understand how much goes into it to actually do it. If you're doing it like a bigger scale, we're having a destination wedding in Paris, which is going to be amazing. And we have 93 people coming out, which is also incredible. The fact that many people will hop on a plane, mostly coming from the US, and travel that far to be a part of that experience with us. So it means a ton. And it's still a good sized wedding. A lot of vendors, moving pieces, like the amount of planning and preparation that's going into this has been mind-boggling, unexpected to say the least. Just I didn't know this much work would go into it, and you know it's costly as well. But I look at it as an investment in the sense of the experience. It's a lifetime moment. When I'm on my deathbed, looking back at my life, I'm going to be grateful that I put in so much work and effort to making this day incredible. So it will be worth it in the end, but there's definitely moments to where like, man, we should have just eloped. Like, it would have been much easier,
Yeah. But that's awesome. So did you guys always want to do something in France? Was that like predetermined before you guys like really talked about it, that it was always going to be in France, or how did that kind of conversation spark out?
Yeah. My fiance's name is Vanessa. This is her dream. Yeah, so I'm doing, fulfilling her dream. She's always wanted to get married. At first, it was south of France, and then we're getting married at Chateau. It's like incredible. And the chateaus in the south of France, you'd have to fly into Paris and then fly to another airport and then drive another like 2-3 hours. It's just a full journey and like really hard to get to. Not good any like accommodations and stay options for guests. And so we ended up finding an incredible chateau that's 30 minutes from the Paris International Airport. And so that's why we landed at that one specifically. But her dream has always been to do it in France.
That's awesome, man. And she's great. Family's great. I'm super happy for you. I'm happy that you're happy, man. And it's cool. We're going to be able to go to Paris and have a really good time.
Yeah, thank you. It's like finding your life partner is an incredible thing. And we have really like, I'm younger and people ask me like, how do you know, like what makes you like want to make that decision and commit? And for me, it's largely how I'm wired as well. Like I'm someone to where I want a sustainable, long-term, like lifelong relationship. I don't care to necessarily have a lot of flings and different things going on. Like I've experienced both, and like a committed relationship is just so much more powerful to me and more aligned with my values and beliefs. But we've also asked so many of the important questions, if like all of them that we could think of, and started that process early on. So there's card games and books that you can get that just talk about like questions to ask before you get engaged or early on in your relationship, and then really aligning it to your values, like setting expectations as well long term. I'm an entrepreneur. It's in my bones. I work a lot, and so it's important to me that that she understands that. We talked about it early on. Like she never pulls me away from work. She never makes me feel bad for working or putting in the extra effort. Like she gets it. She understands it. So that was incredibly important. But creating that alignment and having those hard conversations and learning from past experiences has all given me complete confidence that this is the one, and before we got together, I had it on my vision of the exact like characteristics I was looking for in a partner. And I wasn't seeking it, but I was open to it. And then I had on my vision board, actually, like in the next 3 years, I'm in a committed relationship with a woman who's hardworking, loyal, health conscious, adventurous, entrepreneurial, business oriented, supportive, so on and so forth. And she checked immediately, like anytime I was going on a date or something, I was looking for those characteristics. Yeah. And right away, like she checked all those boxes plus more. So you have to get specific on what you want. And I would show that to people. There's like 13 different things. They'd be like, man, that's a lot. It's like, yeah, that's what I want. Like that's important to me, and I wasn't willing to slide on any of them. And so the more specific you get, like when you come across the one, you'll know.
Yeah, for sure. That's a really big, important point, because we've all gone on dates and we're just like, dude, this is not it. Like immediately you're like, okay, let's just cancel it. Like it's just not it. And that's awesome because when you identify those core values in yourself, the person appears. It's interesting how that works, right? A lot of people seek outward for it, go on a bunch of dates, a bunch of flings, or a bunch of whatever else, especially out here in Miami. But like when you focus on yourself internally, it manifests differently and you see the world differently.
And when you're aware of that in yourself as well, like maybe people have come across you that do fit that, but you didn't have your own awareness of your own core values, so you didn't see it, right? But when you have that awareness, you're able to spot it in others. So it comes down to first self-reflection.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what was probably some of the, first books or first things that you read that made you go through that, initial core value determination, or some of the things that you learned, or how did you actually figure that out? Because there's a lot of people that are entrepreneurs that, follow me, that follow the channel. And I even went through this journey a little bit as well, but it's always great hearing different perspectives. What was it? What was the spark for you? What books, material, et cetera, that helped you realign and actually go down the path of finding that one?
Man, I wish I knew the name of like these card decks that we've gone through. If you go on Amazon and you type in like relationship questions card deck, I'm sure it'll come up. And there's a leading company that makes these, and they'll even make them for the stage of your relationship. So if you're like in a new relationship versus if you're already married, or you're engaged, or you're like years into a relationship, like they have different decks. And so we've gone through a couple of those, and it gives you it's a full deck of cards, and they all have different prompts of questions to ask, and they're important questions, and it's a lot that you at least for me, I would have never otherwise thought of to ask. And so we've gone through those extensively, and it's like early on in dates, and then even further into a relationship, we would like go to the jacuzzi and just like go through the decks and ask each other the questions, or we'd be on a road trip like going through the questions, like we just have a glass of wine and go through the questions. So we did a lot of that early on and continue to do so, and still have done some in recency as well. And that's something that we'll continue to keep up also. And then just strong communication, values alignment, beliefs alignment. And so that's going to be dependent on every person. And again, it comes back to self-reflection and getting clear on what is that for you, and then asking really like situational based questions to spot if they have that alignment as well.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great, man. So after the honeymoon and after all the fun of the marriage, kids on the radar, boys, girls, how many?
We're planning on having kids, I would say, in the next 2 years after getting married. Wow, right. And like they're saying, man plans, God laughs. So God willing, we'll see how that goes. Yeah. But yeah, I would love like boy and girl. And then for a long time, I have always said just like 2 kids. But I don't know, it feels like the older I get, it kind of feels like cool if there's just like, you have a unit, I'm becoming more open to the idea, but you don't know until you experience it. And so I think we'll have to, and then we'll know how we feel from there if we want to keep going or not. But yeah. I do like the idea of like potentially a bigger family. See like Elon Musk out there, he's having a new kid every day. He's got like 9 talking about population collapse. It's like it's gonna help humanity have more kids.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's the pitch. It's like, hey, we're trying to help humanity.
We're doing our job. Yeah.
Let's contribute more. No, that's great. And
population decline.
Yeah, man. I think it's also interesting too, because like we were, raised, at least myself, my siblings, we had 5. My mom had 5, and then my dad had 5, like siblings, or they're one of 5. And like the generations before were all like 6, 7, 10, 13, like just massive families. And literally like it's gone down to 2 kids, 1 kid for my brother or for my sister or whatever. Like it's weird how that's kind of occurred, at least in our lineage. So for me, I want like a basketball team, man, like a basketball team of like 5 with a 6th man. Like I want the whole squad so we can like try and reverse that trend for sure.
Yeah, I love it. No, culturally, it's changed across the board, like across many different cultures. Like as people are not having nearly as many kids. And there's very, very direct correlations of the higher developed the country and higher education, less kids people have, which is a bad trend. Like it's unfortunate that is the case, but it is the case. It's just fact. We look at the data.
Interesting. And maybe AI will solve that. Maybe we won't need to get more intelligent because we have the AI, so we can have more kids.
Go back to caveman days.
Yeah, exactly.
AI. Run us
the other way.
Maybe so.
No, that'd be interesting, man. But congratulations again, man. I'm super grateful and excited to be going out there with you guys and just happy to celebrate with you guys. And it's going to be an awesome wedding, man.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that said, guys, again, thank you for watching. And if you want to learn more about how you can work with Logan, follow Logan. We're going to go ahead and link everything in the description below. So go ahead and like, subscribe, share it with a fellow entrepreneur. So that way they can grow and scale their media, or maybe pick up a few tips about relationships. So with that said, guys, see you in the next episode. Peace.
Peace.